Hey everybody, it's Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully everyone's doing well and having a good week up to this point here. Before I get into the video, I want to apologize for this one coming out so late. A lot of software updates occurring on the computer here today, so just kind of got caught in a bad spot, and then of course also got off work really late today, so apologies there. So work with me on that, and then of course also we know the elephant in the room. It's pretty much the uh, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day weekend storm that we're looking at there right now. And there's not really much else that we're in range of except for the GFS right now. So I'm not going to really get into New Year's beyond this point for right now, at least. I'm waiting to see when we'll get into range for the Euro. Probably be at least another day or two before I talk about it again. But that being said, thanks for all of you that have bared with me up to this point, especially during the more quiet period right now. Definitely appreciate it. But business is about to pick up soon, so make sure you're hitting that like button. Also, if you're new, hit that subscribe button if you're interested, and also hit that share button as well. But as far as things go here, so we're looking to the screen to the right. Business is intending to pick up. Just how significantly, that's still a question right now. Predictability is too low. It's pretty much a perfect statement, really, if I'm being honest. It just sums up everything perfectly. There's storm systems out there in the future from the looks of it, based on model data. But the thing is, just there's a lot of things that are missing. It's nothing that stands out off jump as something that's going to be incredibly major at the moment. Not enough that would put confidence in the SPC that to put up that 15 or even 30% area. So that's pretty much the story that we have here. It's pretty much the same old song and dance. And pretty much for what we see on the models here, for the most part, it somewhat is the same old song and dance, but the storm system is becoming a little bit more clear. The picture of the storm system itself is becoming a little bit more clear. I'm gonna roll this back to the original time that we had here, the beginning of the run, and pretty much we see a lot of congruency here. Here are our storm systems, exact same point of time, and as we continue to go forward here, this is starting out with the euro to the left here, which is typically what we do, and the time frames in the top left corner here. We can see this storm system beginning to wrap up as it starts to go into the southwest here. But there's one thing I've made note of when it goes to both of these models as I switch over from Euro to GFS to the right here, is that I've noticed a trend a little bit more where it's trying to take a little bit of a negative tilt orientation. And if you aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, I've made videos on this, but I'm going to go over it quickly. So there's storm systems and troughs that end up going through the U.S., as we all know, and the trough can actually take a different orientation. You can have the positively tilted orientation, which is basically going from, like, let's say this point right here, and then pointing in this direction. You can have the neutral tilt, which is something like this. And then you get something like this, which has a slightly negative tilt orientation where it's going from, where it's pointing in this direction here. And in recent runs, I hadn't been seeing this until maybe yesterday, but it's becoming a little bit more pronounced in this run tonight. So that's definitely something I'm going to make note of as time goes on here. But based off what I'm seeing here with the Euro and the GFS, it's a little bit more congruency here, so that does give me a slight bit more confidence. There's still things that, there's still like details that I'm trying to make sure I'm capturing here, of course, as well, like the timing. But the timing, for the most part, it's relatively congruent, but the strength of that low pressure is another big question that I have at this point. Of course, we're looking at the upper levels of the atmosphere. Towards the mid levels is also going to be a key point of interest as well. So this is towards the 26th now that we're looking at here. Low's a little bit stronger based off of the euro, based off what I'm seeing here. Thing to make note of here, and here's the big issue, is the fact that I'm looking at the 12Z euro because 18Z euro is not in range of this at all. 135 hours out. I've still got another 45 hours, I think it's about 45 hours, I would say, to go before we could even be in range of this on an 18 and the 06C run. So it's kind of, like I said, not really a whole lot for me to still look at. Ensembles getting into the mid-range, into the short range, can be a little bit more difficult with storm systems like these. Not impossible, but Definitely not something I prefer to look at too much. But across the board here, GFS is still looking like the more aggressive of the two models right now and showing a much more impressive looking storm as we head into the middle of next week and then beyond. So we go towards the end of this run and we draw closer to the 30th. It's pretty much a similar deal. Big cooldown could be ahead here for the southeast as we draw closer towards New Year's Eve. But also I'm making note of another storm system and some more ridging, just like what we're dealing with this week, coming into play as we get closer towards the end of the year. And like I said, we're not really going to go too much further beyond it, but like I said, I'm seeing a good bit of congruency between the models here. So I do have a little bit more confidence. And I'm still interested in this New Year's storm, but like I said, we're still so far out right now. It's just, I don't want to make the same video for you guys 1,000 times. I mean, I'm just kind of in a spot where I kind of have to at a point right now, but in due time, we're gonna be able to actually look at different data here and go on from that point. If we look at it from 500 millibars, we're just going to go ahead and put that into a loop here. But main thing to make note of here with the Euro and GFS is, like I said, we're starting to see more congruency, which is exactly what we're looking for to make that forecast now. But really, it's when we start to get into the regional and the convective models, which have a shorter range, is where we really will be able to start to know just who, what, and when this storm will occur and who it will affect, I should say. And we're just going to set both of these into a loop here. We're going to start out with the 500 on the Euro. Like I said, pretty similar deal here. Of course, there are some key differences, like towards the 26th and beyond. Low pressure progresses a little bit differently than what you see on the GFS here. Let's pause that and go with this right here. And like I said, pretty much a similar look across the board here. And then, of course, there's that storm system at the end of the run that'll be around the start of the new year that I'm going to be watching very closely. Another thing to make note of here, if we go ahead and look at our air masses here, so the height anomaly that we look at, very good indicator for looking at air masses, I should say. Notice with that ridging, we get a little bit more warm air masses going in here. Here's our storm system right here. And as we continue to go forward here, you see a little interaction here. The Euro's kind of been pretty consistent with that trend here. But like I said, it's really going to be the lack of cold air towards the mid levels of the atmosphere that's going to help inhibit the wintry side of the system. And it doesn't really deepen until we get towards the Midwest here. Euro's kind of been consistent with that run here. And then eventually, like I said, it gets interesting towards the southeast. We get towards the 28th into the 29th, which will be the weekend before, which will be the weekend of New Year's. It's just kind of uncertain as in regards to just how much cold air comes into play. Like I said, over 200 hours out, we're really starting to get into no man's land here. 300 hours out is really difficult to forecast. So, like I said, you have to take some of this with a grain of salt. But the thing to make note of here is the congruency with this storm system. Although there are a few things I've noticed that end up happening earlier in the run with the Euro versus the GFS, but of course there is a little bit of a time disparity as well. So like I said, it's just something we're going to have to keep on watching pretty much up until it happens. Wintertime usually often brings a lot of what's called nowcast situations where you have to, where you're not really going to know what's going on until pretty much when it happens. So it's tricky, but all in all, it looks pretty much like right around the weekend of New Year's, we're at least going to see some sort of pattern shift. It's going to be a little bit cooler across the south here. Just how far that cold air to the south penetrates is still questionable at this time here. And then, of course, we're going to be watching that ridging and eventually another New Year's storm and time after that as well. So a couple things we're going to make note of, as well as the moisture return. I tend to usually prefer looking at the GFS more with this, but we're going to go with the Euro as well. As that storm system draws forward, I'm really looking further off to the deep south here, maybe for a severe threat. do see a moisture nose try to develop again over towards the Ozarks. That would still be my point of interest. And then maybe towards the southeast as we head into Christmas Day and the evening of Christmas Day as well. And then pretty much after that point, we kind of lose that moisture and we're not really concerned about the threat anymore. But if we look at the GFS here, pretty much a similar deal. See that moisture nose a little bit more clearly on this, but still, it's a pretty consistent trend here. We're mainly seeing the greatest moisture advection over here towards the Ozarks and the southeast here. So definitely from the Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, maybe even Mississippi, Alabama, we may have to watch out for the threat of severe weather. Like I said, predictability is very low on this right now. There are a lot of other parameters that are just unclear right now, really, at this point. So, like I said, it's a difficult one to forecast right now. So all we can do is just play it by ear at the moment. And as we get in range of more models, we might be able to get a better idea of what lies ahead here. But of course, we'll take a brief look at what lies ahead here towards the new year. It's another storm system we're going to have to watch real closely, and a really strong moisture return. I have seen this trend going on for about a couple of days now, so it's something that's made my radar. But even so, I'm still kind of on the fence about what lies ahead here. This will be heading into the evening of the 3rd if this comes into play. Like I said, definitely in no man's land, 360 plus hours out, so can't put a lot of merit, if any at all, really, at this point. So just have to see what's happening here. But keep in mind, the Nashville setup was somewhat like this. There were some early warning signs there. But like I said, these can change at the drop of a dime. The next run, this could potentially not even be there. So it's the soap opera of weather right here. Mother Nature's true soap opera. But that's what we're looking at right there. Temperatures, pretty much a similar deal across the board. Very much looking at a cold air invasion starting to take place as we get closer to Christmas and then the holidays in general. Especially after Christmas, that cold air really starts to run rampant here. It starts out west, but then eventually just the entire country as a whole just starts to really be overtaken by the cold air. So be prepared for some really frigid temperatures for some of us here, whether you're in the mountains or you're up north, even in the deep south. You're going to be feeling it, especially as we continue to go forward here. Those morning lows in particular over to the south in the days leading up to the new year get my attention the most here, especially considering the fact that I work in it. But fact of the matter is, around the 28th to the 29th are going to be frigid. But we will see a little bit of a warm-up begin to take place here as we get into the new year, and then beyond that, it's still questionable at that point. Warm air advection is going to be key to that setup as well. So the last thing we'll do here is we'll go ahead and look at our precipitation models here. This will show you what type of precip we could be looking at here. Like I said, not much to really be had here with the wintry side outside of the Rockies here. There is a little bit of a snow shield that does try to develop over towards the northern plains, like the far northern plains, maybe western Nebraska here towards South Dakota, maybe North Dakota. But like I said, we just can't keep that cold air with this system for too long, it seems, and the moisture ends up outrunning it anyway too. So it just kind of makes things really difficult. However, if there is a chance that there's some remnant moisture left over here towards the Appalachians, the deep south here, towards 28th, 29th, could be a shot at some snow flurries for some of you. Do I think it'll really amount to much of anything? Well, as of right now, no. But fact in the matter is, potential's there. Could be something for a few of you to make note of. Maybe take a little picture or something, because snow is not as common in the south. For those of you in the northeast, you're probably thinking to yourselves, no, we don't want this. But for the most part, you're not really going to see too much. Maybe towards the northern tiers of the Appalachians, we could get a wintry mix, but beyond that, I'm not really concerned about anything. If anyone's going to get snow towards the northeast, it really looks like Maine, because the low just ends up in the right spot, really. The cold air is in the perfect spot. There's a little bit of moisture left over, or actually a decent amount of moisture. So you could see some heavy snow for a brief period, but it's not going to be a long-lasting storm. But Of course, after that point, here comes that frigid cold air coming in around the 30th, and then we'll have to watch out for what lies ahead the morning of the 30th, heading into the 31st. We'll have another update soon. Don't worry. But if we go over to the GFS, it's going to be pretty much a similar deal at this point. We already know the deal with this current system right now. It's pretty decent confidence in this at the moment. Not really much in the way of snowfall here, mainly because that moisture again is doing what it typically will do, is outrun the cold here. Moisture does not like cold air because it just dries itself out more often than not. And then as time goes on, we eventually see a different look here as we go from the 27th and onward. We do end up getting some of that moisture meeting up with that cold air. And this could be a heavy lake effect event according to the GFS if this ends up validating. So if that verifies, we could have a problem there. But beyond that point, it's pretty much a similar deal. If we look towards the next 10 days, pretty much a similar deal. Could see a little bit of lake effect snow again from the Clipper system, it looks like. But we'll have to see what happens with that. And then, of course, once we get towards New Year's, there's that storm that I'm already starting to make note of here. This could be a big storm here, depending on how this progresses as time goes on. Like I said, model runs are going to be the key, and looking for trends are going to be the big, quintessential thing as far as what to do next in regards to tracking this system here. But that's all I got for you guys on this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you smash that like button. Obliterate that subscribe button if you're new, and also hit that share button. Some interesting things ahead as we head towards the new year and beyond. Can't wait for you guys to see it. But till then, see you soon. Probably will be on Friday with a weekend forecast and a holiday forecast. But till then, it's been Metalhead Weatherman. You take care, have a good night, and I'll see you soon.